Welcome everyone in this new live development video about building an auto battle game. In this video we're going to implement the logic which calculates the amount of damage a player takes. But before we do this directly in the in-game state which find out which receives the event regarding the uh, loss of a player, we're going to implement a little variable in our unit, which is the level of the unit, because most of the time in in auto battle games, the amount of damage we take depends on the level of the units which remain on the battlefield. So we're going to implement that feature in our game. So all units are going to be level 1 by default, and we're going to see how we broadcast this over the network when we implement the promotion system. But for now we're just going to consider that every unit is worth 1 point. So we're going to save it all, and we're just going to check if our units are level 1 and our dummy units are level 1 as well. So we're happy about that. And in our in-game state now, when we receive the information that a player has actually lost the combat, on match ended, we are actually calling these on player match ended here, and we actually want another parameter which is the amount of damage taken, like this, and we want to refresh all nodes. That's the shortcut. If you don't have that shortcut, you'll have to do refresh node all the time, and it's if we hit play we're gonna have an error. So we're gonna open up our in-game HUD, and we're gonna say that this function on player match ended has actually another parameter which is an integer, and it's gonna be damage amount. Like this, we're gonna hit compile, hit save, and it's gonna be fine. So how much damage do we take here on match ended? Is the remaining is it contained within the remaining player? Yes, it is. We're grabbing the opponents of that player. So we need to grab the amount of, so this is gonna damage taken is gonna be 0 in case of a draw. And on player match ended, so we're gonna calculate here the amount of units remaining to that player. Get units, get player unit list, get server player unit list. No, we want that. Find, we want to break this. Don't we have get highest priority target? We're grabbing all the units and we're finding out if they're dead. So we actually need to grab all remaining live units. Get player live units count, unit count, get players units list. We want to find, and we want this. This is not going to be a key, and this is going to be in player. We want to do the same thing we're doing here. So we're going to grab, so we're actually going to return an array of units, of BP units, because we're going to use this in here. Get alive units, get player alive units. So we won't be checking if they're dead here. And we'll be pasting this here and grabbing this. Get hosted player, get player, get owning player. This is going to be pure and this is going to be return a value. Get player alive units. And here we'll paste. So we want to loop through all of these units. And we will actually, so if the unit's not dead, we'll promote this to a local variable, temp units, and we're gonna add the units in here. So this way we'll know how much units is remaining here. So get remaining, so yeah, get remaining player units, it's a better name, and we want that in utilities, I guess. And we'll basically need another function. Duplicate get remaining player units, get damage dealt, and this is going to be an integer amount. Yeah, it's going to be return value. Yeah, we need to compile, and this has an error, so we're going to do this, go there, call this return value, hit compile once more. In there we want to grab the remaining player units, we want to loop through them, we want to get their level, we want to promote this to a local variable, temp amounts, we want to remove the other local variable which came from our duplicate of a function. We want to set like this. This is the amount of damage we take. We can close this, and we want to grab this. You do that much damage, and you take that much damage. Oh, we don't want that. We want the negative of that actually. Yep. And in our in-game HUD, when we actually display the match feedback, we'll need an integer amount, which is damage taken, damage amount. And where are we calling this? We should have the pin now. Yep, we do. Like this, and we'll say that damage result set text, it's gonna be that. And we'll just have to make sure that the damage result is actually not collapsed, it's visible. So how much damage do we take here? We should be taking 2 damage as the red player, so we should see -2. Yep. So we need the in player state. And actually no, we need the player state. Oh, we don't have our else value yet, so we're gonna have a new variable called else. It's gonna be an integer, it's gonna be rep notify, and it's gonna be like, yeah, I don't know how yeah, it's worth, yeah, it's 30 by default. We'll set this is gonna be like exposed. So if we check this, oh yeah, I increased that, I didn't want to. So we don't want this to be ordered this way, so this is gonna be like a reference, and team color is gonna be like player stats with the team ID. This is gonna be in player stat as well. And this is actually not gonna be exposed. Player stat, player stat. If we look at this, we don't have this here. Why don't we? In the class default, where is located player stat? It should be there. Oh yeah, yeah, it is. It's just that we should have 3 variables here, and we don't have. Okay, so what if we do this? Hit compile, go back to here. Okay, now we do have 3 values, and we're gonna put this here, and this is gonna be in the reference folder with the in-game reference. Yep, like this. So 30 else, we're fine. And now we need to do something like in our player entry, when we initialize, we're binding ourselves to these events, but I guess we also want to bind ourselves to the fact that the player is actually losing else. But in here we have a reference to a player state. I think we want yeah, that's silly. Because we don't need the else in the player state, so we don't have the else here. And we want to be bound to the event removing our else one way or another. We're gonna create that event in our in-player state dispatch on else modified, on else update, which is gonna return 2 values, the player state and the amount of else we have now. And we're gonna call this when that function gets called. This player and that amount of health. So okay, I think I know how we're going to do this. In our player entry, we're going to create a child blueprint of that player entry. WGT in player entry. We're going to open that up. And what we want to do here is that when we bind to the player state, oh no, we want to override. Yep. We want to call the parent here. And after we've bound ourselves, we want to grab the player state, cast that into an in-player state, and bind ourselves to the fact that else has been updated. We want a new function on else updates, which is gonna grab an integer and a player state. Oh no, we need a player state, yeah. In player else value, yeah, it's gonna return an error. We need to create an event. Oh, on else updates, what is wrong with that? Okay, I think it needs an in-player controller, of course. Signature, yeah. Why can't we? Maybe we need to do this, and then what does it take as parameter already? In player state and integer. And in here, oh yeah, because that's the same name, I guess he doesn't like it. On hosted player else update, we're gonna hit compile. What's wrong with what's happening here? So when we are binding, so this is gonna be called, yeah, this is called when we, okay, so we're fine with this. We don't care about that. And when we update our else, we're calling dispatch on else update. So our in-player entry is gonna bind itself to that and be calling that function when that happens. We want to bind ourselves to this. We're gonna remove this, hit compile, and restart our engine. Then we're gonna open what was open last time we were in there. Go back to our in-player entry. Try to bind ourselves to the else update, and we still don't have this. So there's something obvious I'm missing, which is not working. We have a player state. In player state, cast to in player state. Yeah, that's what we want to do. I'm really wondering what's wrong. Okay. I'm so I really don't know what's. It was in player controller which was not working. So it was kind of obvious. I was convinced it was a bug. So we're receiving that event when else gets updated, and we'll actually be calling this right away in the in-player entry, I guess. We're gonna call this get else, and then we want to add over our match player entry and modify this. This is no longer a player entry, this is an in-player entry. So this should all be fine. We want to override an hosted player else update, and oh yeah, we don't have the initial else value here, so that's an issue. So that's really an issue. So maybe the else value is actually gonna be a vector 2D here that we receive. So yeah, I guess we're gonna do it this way. So we're going to open up in player entry, we're gonna make this a vector 2D, unplug that, hit compile, it's gonna throw an error. So we need to open up our in player state, and we're gonna make this a vector 2D as well. Hit compile, and what is it we're gonna pass here is this, and we're gonna promote this to a variable named starting else. This is gonna be a matrix, and we're gonna pass that here. Don't forget to plug else. Hit compile here, hit compile there, it's working. Get starting else. Yeah, we don't want to be calling this starting else, but base else. We're gonna put the matrix folder above every other else. No, we don't want to open that. So we're calling this, and in there, yeah, set ratio, sets percent field, set percent. We want to break this and divide the first one by the other, x by y. So we should be full health. Oh, we're empty. Yeah, so that's why. That's because in our in-player state, our base else is 0. So we need to, else we're gonna set that to 0, and base else is gonna be like, yeah, 30. We don't care. But in begin play, we're gonna say that our else is equal our base else, like this. So we are full else, and when the in-game state, and in there get player state, find, we want to find who is being defeated. So we want to clear that out. Get opponent player, local variable opponent, temp opponent, and we're gonna have in player and temp opponent. So in here we can already use in player. In there apparently it was in player. In here it's in player. in player, but actually we just want opponent here. Temp opponent in there, in here like this. Here I guess we want in player. So do we here. In here we want the opponent. So that's a little bit better. So apparently we still need the opponent here. And still in there. So we need the in player in here. So this is way better. So the opponent is being defeated, and we want so this means we want to remove the else of that guy. Set else. Actually we want to have untake damage. Amount, which for now is just gonna do something like this. But only in authority. Temp damage. Like this. And I think we'll see. I think it will work right away. We'll see that value goes down, but not that one. So blue's gonna take damage, so I'm gonna take damage on that window. -5, but oh, red has taken damage. So yeah, there is definitely something wrong in our in-game state here. So that guy is victorious. So I really don't get. I should be plugging this here and this will work, but it's the whole logic seems reversed, and that's quite strange. So yeah, that the blue took 1 damage, but it's not being reflected here. So we'll just quickly make this. So the score screen entry is actually going to be an in-player entry as well, and it's going to override else update events. Text else set texts to the current value here, like this. So we're gonna be able to do some kind of free for all, and the red is gonna be like super strong, and green is gonna be like super weak, poor green. Yeah, so blue got damaged, green got damaged as well. So they've lost some health, but now green is like super duper strong. And so is red. So we're gonna start the next phase. So green is gonna crush blue. 8 damage. Oh yeah, poor guy falling. And red is gonna wreck yellow as well. Tons of damage taken. So we're fine with this. Seems like we get some kind of damage system going on. So I think it's going to wrap up that video. Hope you guys enjoyed it and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.